that have to do with packing donuts in boxes. Raise your hand if you've ever bought donuts from Dunkin' Donuts, Krispy Kreme before. I'm talking like a box of donuts, not just one, but like maybe a dozen, right? What did it look like in that box? How are your donuts arranged if you've bought donuts before, Heidi?
They were getting, like, they were getting 6 by 5.
Sure. So they're in rows, right? They're not stacked on top of each other, right? Are they stacked on top of each other? No. That would be really messy, right? I know that Krispy Kreme donuts have that glaze. If they sold it all stacked, they'd all be stuck together. It'd be really messy to eat. So yeah, they put them in rows so that each donut kind of has its own space, so they're not all squished up together. Yes?
Like parentheses.
Kind of like a parenthesis, sure. So we're going to be dealing with some rows of donuts today. And it says this on your rows of donut paper, but it says that the Dublin Donut Shop has different sizes of boxes for their donuts. Why do you think they have different sized boxes for their donuts? If you've been to a donut shop, think about it. Why would they have different sized boxes for their donuts? Carl, what do you think?
Because of the sizes
Sizes of what?
on the donuts.
Sure. Right? I know that if I buy Munchkin donuts from Dunkin', those are really little. Very much different than the big donut we're used to. So maybe the size of donuts is different. Tia?
So if you want a smaller donut, you can get less donuts. And if you want a bigger donut, you can get
Yeah. How crazy would it be if you're like, okay, I'll take 2 donuts, please, and they gave you that big dozen box? Would that make sense? Probably not. So it might make sense that they have different sized boxes because they can sell different amounts. Colby?
boxes because normally if you order one, they'll give it to you back.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't think they'll give you
So depending on how many you order, you might get a different size box. That makes sense. The smallest box that they sell has 4 donuts in a straight line or straight row. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine 4 donuts in one row? Kind of looks like a rectangle. That makes sense? Larger boxes have rows of donuts with 4 on each row. Does that make sense? So my small one, Jalen, we're not writing on that. It's going to have just 1 row. Here's my donuts of 4 donuts. But my bigger ones, I might have my box. I might have multiple rows of 4 donuts. Does that make sense? Okay. Look on your rows of donut sheet. The very first one says a small box of 4 donuts. What might that look like? What would that look like? A small box of 4 donuts. Heidi?
It might look like 2 at the top, 2 at the bottom.
Nope. How do they sell their small box? It tells us how they sell it. Rylan?
They sell a small box of 4 donuts.
What does it look like? It just looks like 4 donuts going straight across, just like this. It is not 2 on the top, 2 on the bottom. That's not the box they have. 4 going across. Go ahead and do a quick sketch of what that looks like underneath where it says a small box of 4 donuts. Quick sketch, 35 seconds. Make sure you give it a box. Now, we've been using counters to show our things, right? And donuts are what shape? A circle, usually. Right? But I'm going to show you a way to use it on your graph paper. So get your graph paper in front of you. Each box represents one donut. So on my paper, I just drew the small box of 4 in a row. If I were to put that on my graph paper, I'm going to color in 4 boxes together in a row. I can even outline them if I want to. Go ahead and color 4 boxes in a row.
Could we do it like bottom or like side to side?
This is just the square version of what we already drew. So far, so good?
Yeah.
How many rows do we have? How many rows do we have? Zach? No. How many rows, sit down, Colby, do we have? Jalen? 1. We have 1 row, right here.
Oh.
Put another 1, a number 1, right next to the 1 row that we have. We just have 1 row. How many columns do I have? This is a little tricky because my columns aren't very big. How many columns do I have? Heidi?
4.
4. So I'm going to say, okay, I have 4 columns up here. I'm just labeling my rows and columns. So far, so good? All right, let's go over to our other one. It says a box with 2 rows of donuts. What is that going to look like? A box with 2 rows of donuts. Gia?
4 top 4.
Yeah, we already know that they're going to have 4 on each row. Let's go back to our graph paper. Find a new space. I'm going to start with my 4 on top in my first row. And then directly underneath it, I'm not going to skip spaces. I'm going to do my second row. I can draw my box around it. Does that make sense what I just did? Bryson, you with me? 4. And then another 4 right underneath it. Because I got 2 rows of 4. How many rows do I have? I think. Nope. Yeah, but you colored them in and we read it. Macklin, how many rows?
4.
Nope. Rows. Across. Mackenzie?
2.
2 rows. You're right here, going across. How many columns? Madison?
2.
Nope. 4. Each section of donuts is a column. Does that make sense what we did? How many donuts, squares, did we color in? Look at the paper. How many donuts or squares did we color in? Ariana? No. We colored in 8. So how many donuts go in a box with 2 rows? How many? 8. Look down at our chart below. Look down at our chart down here. You see where it says rows 2?
Yes.
Addition equation. What addition equation could I use to figure out how many donuts are in that box that I just made? What addition equation could I use? Tegan? 4 plus 4. Write it in that box. 4 plus 4. Because I have one row of 4 plus another row of 4. Keep going, Tegan. 8. Very good. That next box says multiplication equation. What multiplication equation matches our donut box? Rylan? Yep. 2 groups of 4. So I have 2 rows of 4. Maybe. Equals 8. Are there any questions so far? Is it okay? What's your question? Nope. Now, this has a back. Turn it over. We're not doing the back today. So turn it back over. You only need to do this page. You do need to draw your pictures on our graph paper. Does that make sense? Are there any questions? Zach?
Do we have to do the sketch under the?
No, you don't have to. I mean, you can if you want to, but I really need the pictures, Zach, on our graph paper just to practice making sure we know how to use that graph paper, okay? Tegan? No, you can do this. We just did 2 together. Dale?
How do you find the amount that you're working with?
It's in the top. There's 3 rows in there. 3 rows. Right? All right, Anna? Yep. All right. Go ahead and get started. You got to finish the whole front page. We're not doing the back today. I'll put the directions, what to do after, on the board, please.